Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kim and I am the Travelling Surrogate. This video will be the first video of many travel vlogs, I hope. I'm going to be talking through what I just got up to in Santander in the north of Spain, my first stop. I was a surrogate recently for a lovely family. I carried a baby for 9 months. I recorded quite a lot of the pregnancy. I did those weekly updates for those of you who have been following. And for those new here, I'm going to be chatting through what I got up to and showing some little clips of what I've done, basically because I don't really enjoy travel vlogging. I much prefer being in the moment while I'm doing it and then think about the memories and talk about it afterwards. I flew on my own. I flew from Stansted to Santander, and it's the third flight I've taken since the pandemic. And it was okay actually, it was fine. I wasn't too nervous this time. Spain doesn't require any tests to come into at the moment, so being double vaccinated made that super duper easy. And I decided to treat myself. I went to the airport lounge. It was £16 for an hour and it was totally worth it. Yeah, I had quite a few beers. I had a really hearty English breakfast. It was a good way to start the trip. I then landed in Santander. I was quite near the back of the queue because I'm never in much of a rush to get off the plane very quickly. And I just watched as they sort of scanned the QR codes, and then you go through normal security, only two security officers, so it took a little while, but by the time it did, my bag had come out and it was perfect. I was a little bit worried about my bag because it's like a proper backpack with like loads of straps on it and stuff. At Stansted they'd put it on the oversized baggage carousel, so I thought it might have done the same coming out at Santander, but it didn't. It was just on the normal one, and luckily the straps hadn't got caught up anywhere. So from the airport, I literally walked out and the bus stop was right there, which takes you into the city centre. It was cheap. It was like €2.90 or something. I spoke to my nan while I was on the bus. That was really nice. And then, yeah, I got into the city centre, checked into my hostel, which was nice. It was a bit strange. They made you wipe your shoes when you came in. So using hand sanitizer, that makes sense, but wiping your shoes was a little bit odd. And yeah, I just sat on my bunk for a little while, just unwinding, relaxing, realising that I was actually travelling, like I'm doing it, I'm here, I'm abroad. So that was a bit of a moment. I'd edited a video while I was on the plane, so I posted that as well. My first experience of posting a video on hostel Wi-Fi, that was interesting. And I just chilled out for a little bit, tried to do some uni work, and then I went into the like common room area, and a lovely girl called Elena, a Hungarian girl, asked me if I wanted to go for dinner, so we went to like 100 sandwiches shop, which was fantastic. On Wednesdays and Sundays every sandwich is €1, so for like €5 I had 2 sangrias and about 4 sandwiches, and yeah, really good. It's quite basic, it's, you know, like kind of student-y vibes, a lot of young people. I am starting to feel pretty old compared to all of these 18-year-olds. But yeah, we wandered along the beach and had a really pleasant evening. So I was like, I'm already making friends, you know, day one, and yeah, solo travel is certainly not lonely. The following day, I had some breakfast in the hostel. Breakfast was provided. I then went down to, I went up actually. I walked through a market building, found the tourist office, went up the funicular, which I was really excited about, and it turned out just to be like a lift that people tend to use. So it was fine, it was free. I wandered around the park, which was something to do with llamas. I don't know if that was just the name of it or if there were llamas, but it was kind of Santander's equivalent of Central Park, like a dead square park right in the centre of the city. I hired a bike, which has taken like a €25 pending charge on my account, and I'm hoping that I get that back at some point because that's like a whole night stay in a hostel. Otherwise the bike should have been free for an hour. I cycled from there down to Palace de Magdalena. I don't know who she was, I didn't really get into the history of it, but it's a beautiful little peninsula. I walked along a couple of the beaches, I then sat on the beach for a little while. The day started off really rainy, really miserable, and then the sun came out at about 3 o'clock. I got a little bit of sunburn because I didn't take any cream out with me because it was raining. I had my rain jacket as my towel on the beach and I just sat there in my underwear. It was great. And then as the beach started getting busier, as the sun was out and it was like that time of the day, I left basically because I was like, I'm actually too hot. I was getting quite dehydrated. So I walked around the little peninsula, saw the palace, which was gorgeous. They've got a little free zoo there that's got like seals and penguins, so I spent a little bit of time doing that. It was really nice. I then grabbed a bottle of water because stupidly I hadn't taken my bottle out with me, so I drank a whole litre-and-a-half bottle of water in about an hour. I was really dehydrated. Sat in a church, waited for the cathedral to open at 7 p.m. Everything on Spanish time is like, yeah, it's taken me a little while to adjust to it because they have lunch at 3 p.m. and museums are open until 8 p.m. They have dinner at 10 p.m. It's a proper shift that I've like really got to figure out in my brain. I'm kind of getting there. It's now 5 p.m. and I've not eaten all day. That's probably not great, but I did have 2 very, very big meals yesterday, so it's balancing out. I'm going to wander around and probably have some pinchos, which are the Basque equivalent of tapas. It's very cheap. I tried a really awesome thing last night called, I don't know what it's called. My Spanish is awful. I know all of 10 words, but it's red wine with Coca-Cola. Fantastic. So where did I get up to in Santander? Okay, so I wandered around the church and then I was kind of just making my way back to the hostel. Didn't really have much of a plan. I was a little bit in limbo. I was still trying to get into like travel mode and like I'm actually doing it. I'm backpacking and it didn't really feel right. I don't know, something just felt a bit odd. I was just in a very indecisive mode and yeah, couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. So I went to the supermarket, I grabbed some chorizo, some olives, a tomato, a really like big purple juicy tomato, and a couple of beers. It came to £2.12. It was so cheap, not pound, euro, €2.12. For 2 cans of beer as well. They were like 32 cents each. Yeah, I just sat there and had my nibbles. I then got bored again and got itchy feet, so I was trying to do some studying and I booked my next hostel in the next town that I was going to and whatever, but then I was like, nah, I'm just going to go out, I'm going to go for a walk. So I was going to meet up with Elena, again, the Hungarian girl, and I phoned my mum while I was on my way and I kind of took my time, I strolled, and she had left by the time I got there, so I messaged her and she didn't get back to me and I was like, oh well, whatever, like I'll find something else to do. I'd walked past a really beautiful wine bar and I was like, oh, that looks up my street. So I popped in. There was a bit of confusion about whether I was eating there or not, so they sat me at a table and then he was like, you have to eat if you sit here, and I was like, all right, I'll just go over there then. So that was a little bit embarrassing. I felt like a very typical Brit at that point, but I had a nice glass of red wine, which was like fridge cold, which is interesting. Yeah, you typically wouldn't keep red wine in the fridge at home, but yeah, it was nice. Then I was again going to go back to the hostel because I was like, I'm not really feeling it. I don't want to go like out and I'm alone and everyone else is in big groups and I wasn't really in the mood. So as I was walking through like one of the busy squares and then the next place, everywhere was a little bit intimidating and I was like, nah, I'm not in the mood, I'm going to go back. And then I saw a group of Irish guys sat outside one of these places and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I wonder what they're up to. So I chose a spot like over the way in a different bar, but just so I could kind of people watch. And I just grabbed a beer, and I was looking at some of the tapas, but what I wanted they didn't have, so I was like, screw it, I'm not even that hungry. So I sat there for a little while. I was just like on Instagram, on like making stories and asking people questions and stuff, and just kind of texting people and like killing time. There's just a lady down here like leaning out of her balcony and it's cool to watch. Okay, you probably saw me looking really awkward then, but I heard the door going and someone came in, and one thing I hate is being caught talking to a camera. It's so awkward and it's so embarrassing. I'm in a 8 dorm female, 8 bunk female dorm, and she's a lovely lady. Her name's Katarina. She's from Austria. I've literally just met her and just had a chat with her. But yeah, anyway, so I'm sleeping over here. This is my locker. This is all of the lockers. And I just found somewhere with lots of natural daylight and somewhere nice and quiet so that I wouldn't be interrupted. Of course, people come and go in the hostel all the time though, so there's not a lot you can do that. So sorry for the continuity there. I also should quickly just apologise about the audio. My mic is not working, the mic that I brought with me, so I'm just using the camera's internal mic, which isn't as good quality as I would like. I'm going to try and get one very soon, but I wanted to just make this Santander video while it's all still fresh in my mind. So going back to my second night in Santander, I wasn't really feeling the vibe. The way I would summarise Santander is that it's very split between being really upmarket and very sophisticated and student town. And I kind of don't fit in with either of those things. I'd like to think I like sophisticated stuff, but I don't have the budget for that right now. and the student town is great for everything being really cheap, but I'm not 18. So I was wandering down the street, I sat at this bar to watch the Irish guys, and I was on my phone and I looked up and a guy had just sat down at the table next to me, and he was alone, and I was like, I recognise him, and I realised he was from my hostel. So straight away I was like, oh hi, you're staying at Santander Central Hostel, right? And he was like, yeah, and I was like, yeah, I saw you working earlier, here, like come join me if you're alone, if you've got nothing better to do. So he joined me, he's from Venezuela, and my best friend is from Venezuela, so we kind of had like a good chat about that, and we just got on really, really well. He was laughing at my jokes. I don't think I'm a particularly funny person, so that's always a compliment, you know. And he asked me what I was up to like for the next couple of days, and I was like, oh, I'm going to Bilbao tomorrow. He asked if I'd booked anything, and I was like, yeah, I've booked the hostel, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, you've not booked your transportation? And I was like, no. And he said, oh, well, I've got a few things to do tomorrow. I've got some work that I need to do, but then I'm driving to Bilbao, like, come with me. And I was like, okay, that's very convenient, thank you very much. So he'd literally offered me a lift before I even knew his name. So like we did the introduction thing, he guessed how old I was based on my sophisticated and student vibes of Santander. He guessed 26 off the cuff. I was very impressed. He was 32. Really, really nice guy. So we then decided to go on to another bar in like the main square where it's like hustle and bustle, about 200 18-year-olds. We had a couple of drinks there and then went on to like more of a bar-y club type place with some loud music and had a dance. Just had a really great time. Went back to the hostel about 3 o'clock in the morning. I did not get much sleep and I was extremely hungover. So on my cesarean scar, I've been wearing silicone strips to try and reduce the keloid scarring because it's gone quite bumpy and red. At some point in my drunkenness or in my sleep, I'm not sure when, I took the strips off and I searched high and low in the hostel and I've got no idea where I put them. So I don't know if I took them off in the bar or something, but it had created a little bit of a rash around the edges, so I think it was itchy and I peeled them off in my sleep, but I don't know where they went. So that was a bit strange. Yeah, and then that was pretty much it. I was kind of done with Santander at that point. I'd had like 2 days there, 2 full days. I'd walked a lot of it, I'd cycled. I'd seen the kind of touristy things that I wanted to see. There is a lot of history there if you're into history, and I am into certain types of history, but I do find sometimes it can all get a little bit heavy, and I find I find it a bit hard to wrap my head around certain things. So I didn't really delve into it too much, but I did have a very good time. And I was giving myself this pep talk before I met the Venezuelan guy, saying like, oh, you know, every night's not a good night when you're travelling. You can't expect 7 months of backpacking for every night to be a good night. There are going to be some nights that you just feel a bit crap and you go back and you get some sleep and it'll be fine. And then it turned out to be probably one of the best nights I'm going to have had for a little while. It was fantastic. It was so much fun. We just had a really good vibe. And then, yeah, he gave me a lift to Bilbao, which the journey was beautiful. The stops that he had to do for work, he's like a salesperson with like 5G telephony tower things, I don't know. My mum would be very proud. I did check he wasn't a drug dealer. When he said he had to do some work, I was like, and what work would that be specifically? We're not driving around dropping cocaine to anyone? No? Good, okay. Yeah, so we saw like these random little towns and villages and cows and things that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. So I was really glad to have not been on the back of a bus, just trundling along to Bilbao, because I actually had a really interesting journey and it's beautiful as well. It's so scenic. So I got to see that from the front of a van rather than the back of a bus. But yeah, that is about it, I think. I've just checked my notes and I can't think of anything else dramatic to talk about. So I am just going to pop some more clips up of things that I possibly haven't covered in my talking that I would like to show you, such as the beach. Santander does have one of the most beautiful golden sandy beaches. I sat, after I'd been to the Magdalena Palace, I sat there for a little while watching some people play like tennis but with wooden bats, and they were all like really fit, really healthy people, and they were like going for it. They were sweating. So I just sat and watched that for a little while, and yeah, I took some videos of the beach. It's a really nice, just little coastal town. To me, I wouldn't really call it a city because I managed to walk around most of it in a day. But yeah, it was really cool. So thank you very much for watching, and yeah, bye for now.